All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Wakeman, coach of your Great Lakes Grinsnarls, and we are here for a little bit of a team review and analysis for the Premier Draft Pokemon League, or Pokemon Draft Premier League. Still saying to this day, should have been the PPDL, but missed opportunity there. But still, glad to be a part of this league for another season. Um, this is an invite-only league run by Dan mostly. It's kind of, the idea is that, it's the best of the best draft players, and I think while it's impossible to perfectly encapsulate that, it comes as close as you feasibly can. So I really enjoy playing in here. I did play last season and missed playoffs by one win, so um, all things considered, with the level of competition here, pretty good season, and hoping to do better and hit playoffs this time. So in this draft, I was the 13th out of 18 coaches. 13 is my lucky number, so that's pretty cool. Um, it's a VGC league with 7 tiers and a completely points-based system. It was a snake draft, but there was an interesting little addition where it went 1 through 18 and then 18 through 1, and then round 3 was 18 through 1 again. And I guess the idea there was to make it so that each of the wheels had one less wheel than they normally would, which means that it's a little bit less of a huge advantage. Um, and I think it accomplished that in nerfing those picks. I don't think it was personally, I don't personally think it was absolutely necessary to do that, but um, it's definitely not a bad thing. I don't think it was a problem at all. Um, so I'm just gonna kind of go through my picks here, talk about what I got, what I wanted, and yeah, just talk about the team here. So I was 13th pick, and the stuff that went before me was stuff like, I believe, both Ogre Ponds, or sorry, all three Ogre Ponds but the grass one went, and then I'm trying to find. I'm pulling up the draft here. Should have had this ready beforehand, but it's okay. So it was Gouging Fire, Ogerpon Wellspring, Ogerpon Hearthflame, Ogerpon Cornerstone, Como O, Iron Hands, Glastrier, Arcaludon, Chien-Pao, Urshifu Rapid, Ursaluna Blood Moon, and Baxcalibur. So by the time it got to me, um, I had stuff like the main considerations for me were Annihilate, Urshifu Single Strike, and Ogerpon Grass. And I ended up going with Urshifu. I forgot to put the dark icon on there, but it is fighting dark. Um, I felt like this was going to be a little bit easier to structure a team around than Annihilate, and I think it's a little more splashable, though I do think Annihilate is incredibly broken and most definitely a top 10 Pokemon in this format. So I dropped 100 points on Urshifu here. Um, I really don't have much to say about this mon that isn't just immediately obvious from looking at it. Ignoring Protect is so dumb, and a guaranteed crit move is so dumb. Off of 130 attack, that's all insanely dumb. Um, just gets good coverage. Wicked Blow, Sucker Punch, CC is the bread and butter, but all that coverage is definitely not a bad thing to have. Focus energy, if you want to crit more than 100% of the time, you can get focus energy up. But no, I mean, it has some decent utility moves. I think Swords Dance could be is probably a real set on this thing. Its bulk is solid. It's a good AV mon. Um, yeah, its bulk is very good. 100 is crazy physical bulk. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's just a really splashable, easy to build around kind of mon that fits my playstyle too. I've actually I've kind of been watching a lot of my losses back and realizing that like 80% of my losses are to bad protect calls. So this way I just don't have to worry about it. I just click Wicked Blow into anything. Um, so that being said, My next pick came around. Comfy, Torn Eye, Fluttermane, Annihilate, Baskia Legion, Thunderous, Smeargle, Heatran, and Ceruledge went. So a couple ghost types went. I believe three, which were three of the better ghost types in draft. Flutter, Ape, and Ceruledge. And I was like, okay, well, what is there's a lot of ghost types going, so I was like, grab Golden Go. Is a great partner for Urshifu in terms of offensive and defensive synergy. It's a lot of good matchups that one loses that the other wins. Um, Make It Rain. I mean, I've used this bond before. I won a UGA season with it. Um, it's so broken. Um, Make It Rain is it just applies an insane amount of pressure. Um, Having that spread damage, I think, could be really handy for Urshifu. And then just killing fairies. Sorry, I don't know why I keep yawning. Just generally being a fairy killer for Urshifu is like basically what you want, right? So that's really great. Trick is a great move on this. Nasty Plot is honestly, in my opinion, one of the things that pushes it over the edge. And Good as Gold. I mean, counterplay to this thing is so difficult. You can haze it because that targets the field, but like you can't taunt it, you can't encore it, you can't um, thunderwave it, you can't like eerie impulse it. It's just like so beyond broken. You can't parting shot it, like nothing. All this stuff that you would normally be able to use for free to neuter something like this, you just can't into Golden Go. So it's incredibly strong. And then yeah, so I was using a lot of points early, and so it came to my third pick. A lot of stuff went, and I decided, okay, I have two very good offensive pieces that really don't need that much help offensively, but their speed tiers are kind of whack. 97, 80, and 84 are not the greatest. So let me grab Tailwind, and because I was going so top heavy already, you know, 2/5 of my budget was used on these two picks alone. I decided to go for Illumise. I think for a 2/3 60 pointer, I think this mon was insanely good value. Prankster Tailwind is obviously fantastic, as we all know. But also, like, Prankster Encore is just mad broken, like insanely broken. It also gets weather moves, which is nice. There are a couple teams that want weathers going in this league, so that could be handy there. But fake tears for Golden Go as well. Super good. I wish I could stop yawning. I guess I'm just gonna keep doing that. But super good. Having Tailwind, Fake Tears, and Encore was like enough for me. Um, yeah, I mean, there's not that much else to say about this thing. It's very good. I mean, the stats are very not good, but it definitely makes up for it with the ability and move pool. Kind of a Sableye situation, though it's not quite Sableye. So then after that, I was still kind of in the mindset of, okay, I've still used a lot of points, and at this point, more than half my budget was gone on 3 out of my 10 mons. So I was like, all right, what is some more kind of low mid tier value I can snag here? And I went for Salazzle. Salazzle was another key part of my UGA championship comp um, with Golden Go. It's a very good partner for Golden Go with Acid Spray. Also gets Fire Lash if you want to do that. But like it's just fast, Fake Out. Plus it has like I listed here, Wisp, Taunt, Encore, Toxic, with Corrosion, so you can like beat Registeel with it and stuff. It's super awesome. Nasty Plot, it does get Nasty Plot, but I never ran that personally. Um, but yeah, so it's a great pivot with Overheat, Eject Pack stuff. It is very strong. Like 111 special attack overheats are doing significant damage. And so I just like that I personally think this mon is better than something like Persian, despite having drafted regular Persian like 6 times and Alolan Persian 4 times, I think. Um, Despite that, I do love both Persian forms. I do think Salazzle is better than the base Persian, which there was also in this tier. I think being much less passive while also having stuff like Encore and Wisp and Thunderwave and Acid Spray, like it's a very comparable support move pool. I think the biggest difference is missing Snarl and Icy Wind. But with T-Wave and stuff like that, I think it makes up for that personally, and the fact that it actually does damage. Um, but yeah, I think Salazzle is very good, and it added a fire type for me, which I always like to have that. So next up, I was still in the mindset of let me get some low tiers, and I was looking in tier 5, and I'm like, wow, Stantler's crazy value down there. I had Stantler last season of PDPL, and it did well for me in a couple matches. Um, the Eviolite bulk on this thing is phenomenal. 73, 62, 65 is very, very good functional bulk with Eviolite. The abilities are great. Intimidate is awesome, but also Frisk and Sap Sipper, Frask and Sip Sapper. My favorite abilities. um, but yeah, I mean, it's offensively decent. 95 attack is like not is like non-negligible offensive stat. From a mon that you don't need to do damage, right? So and it gets great coverage too. And then, but the main thing this thing has is its utility move pool, right? Trick Room is good on it, and with a pick I make later, that the Trick Room is much needed. And then, yeah, I mean, Imprison is kind of fake, but it can work. Screens, Roar, Hypnosis, Gravity, all this fun stuff. Skill Swap Intimidate is very, very good. And yeah, I mean, it's just like really great value, and I think it complements. I think it supports fast modes well because it is base 85 speed, so you really can do fast disruption stuff with Tailwind if you want with this thing, but it is also a very usable Trick Room setter. So at this point, all right, I'm like, okay, I'm halfway through my team, and I have 175 points left. I need to get a little more damage because Salazzle can do okay damage. Stantler doesn't do much damage. Illumise doesn't do much damage. Golden Go Urshifu is obviously fantastic, but I don't want my damage output carried by 2 Pokemon. So I went for... Oh. I've got them out of order. My next one is a damage dealer. This one is a redirector. Clefable. I really wanted a fairy type for defensive matchup purposes, and I was looking and looking and trying to find something in tier 3 or 4 or 5, and I didn't feel like Florges was good enough to like warrant taking him. Also might have been gone by this point. I feel like I remember it going pretty early. I think Pedons might have taken it early or something, but Unaware is fantastic, and it generally just adds a lot of consistency to Urshifu and Golden Go, which, given their like typings and bulk stats being good but not like broken, um, they just appreciate that redirection, especially if you're trying to set them up with Swords Dance or Nasty Plot. Um, and then obviously, great coverage. My favorite thing about Clef is like it gets the fairy moves. Obviously, Moonblast is great off 95 attack. That's like pretty good. But it also gets a lot of typings, like coverage wise, that hit a lot of common 4 times weaknesses. Shadow Ball is just a great coverage move to have, but like Grass Knot is ridiculously strong into like many of the broken tier ones. It hits 120 base power, but like Flamethrower for your Scizors, Ice Beam for your Garchomps and Salamences and Dragonites, Thunderbolt for your Gyarados, Grass Knot for like it's just a lot of good coverage moves that you really want to have. I mean, we all know Bolt Beam is insane. And offensive sets are real on this thing. Like Magic Guard Life Orb is not bad. Um, and then, but obviously the main thing is Follow Me with Unaware. Very, very good. And I'm excited to use this thing. I had it in Gen 8 once. Didn't do like a ton for me, but I think I was kind of bad at using it. So hoping to give that one another shot. And so after this, I'm like, okay, I have a decent fast mode now. My speed tiers still aren't incredible, but they're serviceable, especially with Prankster Tailwind. And so now I want some slow damage. And I was looking at some typings I didn't have. I refuse to draft a team that doesn't have a water type. So I went for Araquanid in tier 3. I thought it was just straight up one of the best available Pokemon in that tier, even at the start of the draft. Water Bubble makes this thing ridiculously strong. 42 is a pretty usable speed tier. And yeah, it covers. In my opinion, it defensively complements Urshifu and Golden Go very well. And that is kind of the build around for this team. It really like the move pool is pretty lacking in terms of like sheer amount of things it does, but man is the one or two man are the one or two things it does strong as hell. Um, Liquidation, Wide Guard, Leech Life are like the three moves you run with Protect probably. Like Iron Defense is not bad because this thing's Fizz Def is not great compared to its special bulk, so that is a real set. But I think that the main thing with this mon is it just allows me to have that flexibility with like what speed I run my team. Right, I don't tend to jam Trick Room without having a super dedicated Trick Room mode oftentimes, but having like this little light one of Stantler or Araquanid makes people at least think twice about bringing Trick Room, which I think is worthwhile. So then next up, I noticed that oh shoot, I just got my water type, but I can't hit water types for anything because I didn't have an electric or a grass type. The problem was I only had 35 points left, and 10 of those needed to go towards tier 7s, which were 5 each, so that I could actually hit 10 mons. So then I'm like, okay, I have a tier 5 slot. I don't have any flying, or I would really like a flying resist, and I have no electric resists on the team. So I'm like, okay, theoretically, if I get an electric type out of this tier, it covers my flying issue, covers my electric issue, and it covers my offensive issue into water types. So I went Zebstrika. Its mon is not particularly strong, but its abilities are fantastic. Like Lightning Rod, Motor Drive, and Sap Sipper are all very very bringable, especially when you can Terra it. Having immunities with the ability to boost its speed or its special attack or its attack based on what you switch it into is it's so good to me. And it helps me with my speed tiers a little bit. Um, and like I said here, like it's good and fast. Electro Web, Taunt, Thunderwave, Eerie Impulse, Feint, like those are all great moves to have on this speed tier. And then Volt Switch makes choice sets a lot more manageable. Um, Supercell Slam is very strong, so based off base 100 attack, even it's going to be doing some pretty considerable damage. Not the greatest coverage, but not useless either. Um, and yeah, I mean it's a low tier. It's probably not going to come too much, but I think it filled the gaps I had on the team with the points I had remaining. Because obviously I was not going to be able to get something like a Zapdos or something to fill this slot at this point. So I feel very good about the Zebstrika pick, even if it doesn't come very often. It does definitely solve a lot of problems I was having. So that's about it. I drafted two tier 7s, Grottle and Gabite. They're not real. Um, I mean, they are. I think Grottle is semi-real. It does have better Eviolite bulk than Stantler, which is really funny. So it's not like completely fake, and it can run like stall leech seed sets. But overall, I'm not bringing that over Stanley. It just doesn't do that much. So I didn't even make slides on them. But Araquanid is not counted as a water resist or a fire resist here, so that does help my fire matchup a little bit. Um, I feel very good with this team. I think that um, it sucks that I kind of only have 8 usable Pokemon, but when 2 of your usable Pokemon are Urshifu and Goldengo, and you also have Intimidate, Trick Room, Follow Me, Fast Fake Out, and Prankster Tailwind, and Fake Tears, I really think that's enough to make those 2 mons really just win me games on their own. Well, with help, but you know, get most of my kills, which is definitely what I need them to do here. So yeah, that's about it. I know this wasn't like the craziest, most detailed thing ever, but to tell you the truth, I woke up one morning last week, and before I went to class, I recorded it, and I this same thing, and I listened back, and my voice sounded like I was like sick because I woke up like 10 minutes earlier. So I had to retake it because it just sounded absolutely abysmal. But yeah, that's about it. I appreciate everyone who watched. Super excited for this season. I'm playing Flamingo in about 2 days and an hour ish. And so that should be really fun. Played Flamingo week 1 last season as well. I apologize for the yawning. I don't know what is happening, but again, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'm very excited to play everyone. Thanks for watching.